Good morning from the beautiful Gold Coast. This morning I want to have a talk about overcoming dependency and drug addiction. It's a hard topic because most people that are addicted to substances cannot see any way out of it. It's like you are absolutely blind, and it doesn't matter what any person says to you about what you're doing, when you're doing it, how you're doing it, or your behaviour or your actions. The taking of the substance is much more attractive than acknowledging anything that people say to you when you're stuck in drug addiction. That's why it's attractive. It feels good. It's familiar. It's associated with a lifestyle that you've become accustomed to. You relate in there. You know what it's about in there. The people you're associating with have the same issues and the same problems, and they too don't see it. So how do we move out of drug taking and behaviours that are affecting your life and the people that you're associated with? Well, that's the $64 question, isn't it? How do we do it? What is more attractive than what you're getting out of drugs? And the answer to that would be nothing when you're stuck in addiction. That's why you're in addiction. But there is ways to understand your addiction. And there is ways to start climbing out of the struggle that you're in. When I was in addiction, it was like I was stuck between a rock and a hard post at times. I hated the dependency and what I was doing and everything else that went with it at times. But the other side of the coin was something that I didn't know. So that's the problem when you're stuck in addiction. So to get out of that, there must be something that happens to a person who is ready. Not consciously either, I might add. It might be unconsciously. You might look at this and go, wow, okay, I've picked up something in this. You might listen to somebody else and go, okay. And for your sake, I hope that's the case. Even the smallest thing that you can pick up on that can trigger something other than what you're doing as a potential hope to start looking at ways to get out of it. One of the problems with addiction and living an alternative life to addiction, that the drug taking is so attractive for whatever reason, to numb yourself, to feel good, to give you a sense of release, behaviour that you've set up over a long period of time, learned behaviour. They're just a few things that, well, then you've got pain and you've got struggle, and they're just a few things that you've got with addiction, and why another way is hard to see. It's hard to see because there's no release in another way. There's no instant gratification. There's no high. There's no reward in another way initially. And I say that word initially because it's important to keep in mind. It is initially. It takes a long time to understand oneself in addiction. You don't just come to a fork in the road and go, well, I'm going to change from the person that I used to be, and I'm going to get all those good feelings that I got from drugs and everything else that were associated with them and the relatability in it. It's not going to happen like that. We must understand that that feeling of drugs has to be murdered. Because you're not going to get that in a normal life. Because in a normal life, you don't receive those highs. You can do things where you can enjoy yourself, where you get endorphins running through yourself, going to the gym and creating a new life, and that's all. That will make you feel better. But as addicts, we will always compare that high and that escape to normality, to everyday life. Getting up in the morning, doing what normal people do, so-called normal people, if you want to call them that. Making your bed, getting a job, being responsible for your bills, being responsible as a person for your behaviour and your actions, hopefully creating dreams and desires to create, like going on holidays or buying cars or whatever else is going to make you feel somewhat good, but it won't replace the highs that you get from your drug taking initially. But those highs are very unrealistic, and that's what keeps us locked into addiction. That needs to be murdered. And the only person that can murder that is you. Not your feelings. Not what you enjoy. Not the high that you like. Because that high that you're attracted to is so unrealistic and so destructive, you don't understand how destructive it is. Because it's a trap. And that's what addiction is. It's such a trap that you can't even see a way out of it. But hopefully, if you do pick up something of a different life that you might be ready for, you can start taking small steps. And one of the steps that we all need to take as addicts and when we're stuck in addiction is for people to help us with that addiction and ask for help and seek help. There's so many services you can find on the web, so many detoxes in your local areas that are there for you to start moving away from it, the unrealistic highs and the destructive lifestyle that comes with that. You've got to come to a point, if something triggers you, to give you some kind of hope where you see that there is a way out. And that's through you maybe not consciously seeking help. Hopefully something can happen where somebody can turn up, or something is put in front of you and you go bang and you go, wow, I see it. I see what I'm doing, but I see a way out now. The way out for me when I was in my full-blown addiction, being a heroin addict and spending years and years and years in jails and homes, was I got broken emotionally, and I cried and cried and cried and cried and cried through people confronting me every day in a rehabilitation centre. I was broken like a horse, but I was very hardcore, and I needed to be broken like a horse, like a brumby. And I believe it's good for addicts to be broken like horses, because they can't see like a wild horse. They can't see the benefits of discovering another way or finding another way, or another way is presented to them when they weren't looking and they got that. But if you don't break yourself down from what you're doing, you're just going to keep doing it and doing it and doing it, and your life is going to be unmanageable. The best ingredient in recovery is honesty. Honesty to your heart, to your core. Not what you like, not the highs, not the lies, not the deceit, not the manipulation that you do. Not the disregard you have for your loved ones and people around you. You got to get honest with that stuff. Get honest with how shifty you are. Get honest with how much you've lied, stolen. Your deceit, manipulation. You know my points, everything that the drug taking represents for that high. If you can get honest with that, you'll be on the right road to recovery. And you're responsible for that. Ultimately, you are. People can come along like me or the people that you're associated with who are trying to help you get out of addiction. And they can point you in the right direction. They can give you all the help that you want. But if you don't get honest with your behaviour and what you're doing, you'll lapse, you'll fall back into it. Maybe not everybody, but most people will. There's no easy approach to overcoming addiction. It's a tough life living in addiction, and it's going to take a tough person to get out of it. You've displayed a lot of toughness in it, but you've also displayed a lot of weakness in it. You need to own that stuff. If you can own it, then you can do something about it. And I hope for your sake, you have the courage to see yourself in that mirror as a drug addict, as a liar, as a person that can't be trusted, as a manipulator, as a person that says one thing and does the other, as a person that is in complete disregard, selfish. You see yourself as that and you don't like that, you can change that. But if you don't see the behaviour that's associated with drug taking, you can't come out of it. Well, I don't think you can. You might come out of it for a little while here and there, but the chances are you'll go back to it. Any people that have recovered from addiction will tell you the same stuff. It takes a change in behaviour, it takes a change in attitude, it takes a change in your outlook. It takes an internal change within you to get out of it. And until that happens, nothing's going to change. So seek help. Be courageous. Walk a different road. Be different. Be that person you've always wanted to be, and don't make excuses for anything else other than your greatness. You're so much better than what you think you are. Take care and look after yourselves.